Welcome to the Duquesne University Coaches Show, presented by UPMC, the official healthcare provider of the Duquesne Dukes, and Mike's Beer Bar. Meet me at Mike's. It's time for the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture to Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams, the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics. It was homecoming on the Bluff, and the Dukes gave the Rudy Field crowd a show from the opening whistle. On the very first play of the game, Joel Capasu took the opening kickoff 94 yards to the house. Duquesne's first kickoff return touchdown since 2016 and the first to start a game in over a decade. That lightning start set the tone for a 28-point first quarter, tying the Dukes' highest scoring opening frame as an FCS member. Quarterback Tyler Rydell was in complete command, tossing 4 touchdowns in the first half, one each to Joey Isabella, Ryan Petrus, Jermaine Johnson, and B.J. Alexander, as Duquesne raced out to a 45-0 halftime lead, the largest in program history since joining the FCS in 1993. Logan Kushner threw his first career passing touchdown to Alex Gochis, who hauled in his first career touchdown catch to cap off the scoring in the second half. The defense did its part too. DJ Cerisier forced a fumble that Tyson Miguez scooped up and returned 40 yards for a touchdown, while TJ Jones added an interception as the Dukes dominated in all phases of the game, holding St. Francis to just 45 rushing yards and 1 for 13 on third down. For their efforts, Capasu was named NEC Special Teams Player of the Week, and Petrus earned Rookie of the Week honors for the second straight week, becoming the third Duke ever to go back-to-back. Miguez and Rydell were also named NEC Prime Performers as Duquesne improved to 4-3 overall and 2-0 in conference play, marking the 6th time in the last 7 years that the Dukes have started 2-0 in NEC play. That was the Sherwin-Williams Painting the Picture to Victory segment. Sherwin-Williams, the official paint provider of Duquesne Athletics.
Science doesn't happen in a silo. More and more, we need to have expertise from lots of different fields. And so that's one of the amazing things here at Hillman. Everyone here is committed to doing research that is going to ultimately help patients' lives. So bringing together lots of different smart minds that have a common mission is really the way that we're going to move forward.
For all your sports watching needs and great food, meet me at Mike's. Mike's Beer Bar was voted best sports bar in Pittsburgh. 300 local beers, 80 local taps, over 500 beers, and steak on a stone. Mike's Beer Bar, next to PNC Park, Federal Street, North Shore.
And welcome back to Duquesne University Football Coaches Show. Jerry Schmitt joining us right now, head coach of the Dukes, brought to us by Cordia, creating energy solutions as we roll on here, brought to you by UPMC Sports Medicine, the official healthcare provider of Duquesne Athletics, and Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. Meet me at Mike's. Well, Jerry, a good start to conference play so far for you as you beat Stonehill. St. Francis comes to town. You guys got off to a really good start in this game. I know somewhat of a recurring theme for us has been in recent weeks that the defense has been really good out of the gates and given your offense time to sort of get acclimated to whoever the opponent is. And the offense has gotten in track and really sort of rolled through some opponents here at home. But in this game, it was the special teams that got you going early right away with Joel Capasu's kick return. Sort of walk us through that play, what Joel did by himself, and was there some scouting involved there to set up the blocking to spring him in the first place?
Well, first I have to tell you, Tim, it was an outstanding homecoming crowd and atmosphere. Our guys were really fired up. They enjoyed all the fans, former players who came back. It's great to see everybody. And they responded right off the bat. Yeah, Joel had a great run, but that entire team did an outstanding job, that kickoff return team. We've been working really hard on that team to get not only the right blocks, but to get to those blocks, the right drops and leverage, and that's really important. There was a little bit of scouting. There was a little bit of understanding, and those guys did a really good job at it. Cam Frazier made a great swab block, we say. He ran through a guy that was being blocked and then got on another guy. And then Joel just read it perfectly, and some guys pinned some guys, and they did a great job down the stretch, and his speed obviously took over.
I think it's some blocks, not only on that play, but now I'm saying this out loud, during the course of the game that I remember, guys like Boyd and Petrus had some nice blocks down the field, too, in individual performances.
Yeah, they're doing an outstanding job. I just heard on the NFL game last night about, a good running team blocks in the offensive line and a great running team blocks on the perimeter, and those guys are doing a great job out there. And Petrus was on that team, on that kickoff return, and Boyd was on that team. He shielded a guy, and then he escorted and shielded a guy at the end for Joe to get in the end zone.
We're going to talk to Kevin Kurzinger in a little bit, one of your captains along the defensive line. You guys really brought the pressure against St. Francis. Speak to me a little bit about what you saw from the front seven in this game.
Well, we knew Coach Jacobs and his staff knew this quarterback was talented, and if you let him have the time, he had the arm to get the ball down the field. They had a freshman receiver that was player of the week last week, and we didn't think that we could give him that time, and the front seven did an outstanding job getting pressure on him. We had an understanding that they had a couple offensive linemen starters out, so that helped with our guys, and it's always good to get pressure on a quarterback and make him uncomfortable, even not only just the sacks, but just making him uncomfortable and have to get the ball out of his hand.
And to the other side of that coin is what your secondary did against those receivers, because you're right, they did it. Two guys that went over 100 yards the previous week. I shouldn't say the previous week, before their bye against Bucknell in their previous game. How'd you think your secondary handled those two guys?
I thought they did a really good job. We talked about this last week. Our defense is really getting better and better because of, we knew the front seven was experienced and they were talented and they were good, but this defensive backfield is working really hard on matching up and playing their techniques, and I think it's putting together right now what is a solid defense.
Mercyhurst coming up here for you guys next as you go on the road. First of all, what's it going to be like going on the road? Do you remember how to get the bus up 79 here? I mean, you guys have had a long stretch of home games, which has been great for you. Like you say, it's always great weather for a game at Rooney Field, but now you see what the weather might be like near the lake. We'll find out about that on Saturday night too. So a prime time game for Mercyhurst. What can you tell me about them? And you guys have the right mindset to get on the road and be the visitors here once more.
We're going to be fine on the road. Some of these older guys have been through it. A couple of years ago, we were 4-7. We had 7 games on the road. And some long travel games. So we're used to it. It doesn't matter where we play. Our guys know it's the biggest game of the year because it's the next game. And so we're excited about it. Go up there, first time that we're playing there. I think maybe years ago in the 90s, we might have played against them up there, but we played in the stadium.
Okay.
I was actually on that staff. I think Coach Gattuso and I were assistants at the time. So it'll be exciting.
How are they this year after, fully making the transition now? And what do you remember about last year's game that you can use as a basis to scout them this time?
Well, they put some points on the board. They like to throw it around. They've got a really good quarterback, gets a ball out of his hands. Really solid running game. The running back had over 100 yards last week rushing, and I think he had 70 yards and a touchdown catching a ball. So really tough defense or tough kids. It'll be certainly a battle.
Well, thanks a lot, Jerry, for the time. Appreciate it. Best of luck against Mercyhurst. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, Jerry Schmitt, head coach of the Duquesne Dukes. We'll be back with Kevin Kurzinger. We spoke about him a little bit earlier, defensive lineman and captain for Duquesne on the defensive side of the football. We'll be back with him next as we continue on with the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show here on SportsNet Pittsburgh. Brought to you by UPMC, Mike's Beer Bar, and Cordia, creating energy solutions.
At Cordia, we approach energy from a different point of view, asking what's next instead of what now, perfecting solutions long before they are needed. Our team pushes boundaries, asks tough questions, and explores every possibility. We drive innovation, so the energy you rely on today paves the way to a more sustainable tomorrow. Cordia, creating energy solutions.
I was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer and told you should seek end-of-life care. I went to UPMC, and so the very first time, I didn't get that blank stare. He said, this is what we do, saving lives like mine.
At Duquesne, it's our joy to help you discover what you're good at and why that's good for the world. We want you to become a problem solver who thinks bigger, who is driven by compassion and empathy. Together, we will work towards achieving your goals and a greater sense of purpose. We're ready with an education that's everything you need and more than you imagined. It's time for bigger goals. Duquesne University.
Kevin Kurzinger is brought to us by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools, inspiring hope through education and treatment. Tim Benz back with you here on SportsNet Pittsburgh. Glad you're with us in the Duquesne University Football Coaches Show. As mentioned, pleased to be joined by Kevin Kurzinger. We're brought to you by UPMC Sports Medicine, the official healthcare provider of Duquesne Athletics, and Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. Kevin, thanks a lot for taking some time to join us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Third year as a captain, and third year here leading the defense, and a defense that I think has really put itself on display early in games so far this season. In fact, before we get into what happened with St. Francis, where you guys really excelled, I actually kind of wanted to go back to the Stonehill game for a minute, because I remember back to last year when you guys played Robert Morris, and Robert Morris had come in really hot on defense, had held opponents down consecutive weeks, had a lot of good defensive stats. And I could sense a real tone even going into that game, talking to some of the defensive guys. You took that personally. You wanted to prove that you were the better defense on the field. I had that same vibe going into Stonehill, because they had done the same thing. They had played like 3 or 4 games in the 20s, total points. Did you guys have that sense going into Stonehill that you wanted to exert your authority as the better defense in the NAC, and did it carry over against St. Francis?
Yeah, I feel like that game was pent up from the previous 4 games. I feel like the first 4 games we played well defensively, but we couldn't get everything to kind of click on all cylinders throughout the games. So that game we really wanted to assert dominance and be like, this is our conference. We're here to play for a championship like we do every year. And that was the next game. And as Coach Schmitt says, the next game is the most important because it's the next game. So we kind of just went in with the game plan of, we're going to put our foot on the pedal and not let off.
Against Stonehill, against New Haven, even against Lehigh, games you didn't win, but I thought the defense played really well early, allowed the offense to get its footing, and then you found in each of those games, once the offense got its rhythm, it kept rolling. And for the most part, I think you guys have done a really good job of setting the tone early and making it difficult on opponents to allow your offense to find what the other defense is doing, get a sense, get a vibe, and then assert itself as that game goes along.
Our biggest thing is we pride so much on defense and the front 7 being the most physical and most dominant on the field. And I feel like that helps the offense a lot, because the less we're on the field and the more they're on the field, the more that they can diagnose what they need to do. And it kind of helps Coach Schmitt, Coach Doria, all those guys be able to kind of make a game plan, because with us being on the field such little time, it makes the other team worry because they can't get their offense going. And then once their offense can't going, their defense can't get going. And we kind of noticed that in the first few games we had, like once our defense was kind of going, but our offense couldn't keep up, we kind of got lost in what we were doing. So I feel like that kind of translated over into the NEC, and we kind of flipped roles where it's now we're in charge and we're kind of rolling and stuff. And that helps the offense and the special teams units. And once everything kind of comes together and comes full circle, our team, they can't be beat.
You know, I have had this recurring theme with Jerry on this show, some of the radio shows that we've done, defensive players that have come through and spoken with us about how there was a significant changeover at linebacker. You lost some very good players from last year via graduation, transfer portal, injury. There are a lot of new faces. How quickly did you guys up front realize how good the new linebackers were behind you when it came to paying off your work up front?
Yeah, I think going back to the spring season and looking at everyone through spring ball, I wasn't able to play in spring ball, but just being able to sit on the sidelines and watch them kind of get integrated into the defense and seeing who we had coming back and everything, I think it started there. But during camp, we really noticed that the front 7 were they were the real deal. And you seeing how Tyson Miguez is playing now and seeing how Jabari's come in and played and how Avery's come in and stepped up, I think that we noticed it very early on that they kind of were meant to be where they're at.
Moving throughout this schedule, you've noticed more and more that the linebackers seem to have a flair for big plays, pick sixes, fumble recoveries, things of that nature. Does that come from experience playing at other levels of the FCS, or in the case of Tyson, playing in the ACC? Those guys seem to have a nose for the football and a sense for opportunity to pay off potential big plays.
Yeah, I feel like the linebackers are definitely suited for that, and where they've come from, whether it be Maine. I know Avery played at Charlotte. I know Tyson played in a bunch of different places, but I think just the position they're in and the way the defense is set up, it sets them up for a lot of success. And the way the front four play kind of lets them be able to play passively and aggressively when they need to, and it kind of puts them in the best position that they need to be in, play in and play out.
Prior to St. Francis, I was kind of looking over some of the defensive numbers, and I was surprised to see the sack total wasn't higher. I think you had 6 as a team going in, but I felt like the pressure was good. What did you guys think? How did you evaluate your own play up front in terms of getting the quarterback down to the ground versus the pressure you were creating?
Yeah, I feel like the sack number came because we were being unselfish that game. I feel like the previous games we were kind of having a more selfish mindset, and that we were coming in. Jack Dunkley came off a big season. AJ Ackerman came off a big season. All these guys are coming off big seasons, and we had such high expectations, and it was more so the fact that we were kind of playing selfish ball and not playing as a unit like we did against RMU last year. So I think that was a big part in that what changed in St. Francis and Stonehill, that we were kind of playing unselfish football and kind of letting people just do what they do, and sacks came to us like it was RMU again.
So when you say, as a defensive lineman, playing selfish ball, is that, and the sack totals weren't there because of that? Is that because you're thinking get upfield, get upfield, get upfield, and you're running out of rush lanes, or if you're thinking more in harmony, sometimes the quarterback comes back to you because as a collective you guys are rushing together? Is that usually how it manifests?
Yeah, I think it all happens in a way that defensive linemen work as a unit instead of solo players. Like, you can't just have a defensive end who's playing out of their mind and getting sacks and stuff. The whole unit has to be playing together in the sense that they want to get the quarterback down. They want to condense the pocket, not give him any time to throw. And the DBs work in harmony with that, with keeping receivers minimal time off the ball and open. So I think that all that kind of plays a part in it. And then the linebackers being able to fill gaps when they need to and play off the quarterback, it kind of all works together.
I was watching the game from up top, calling the game against St. Francis, and you guys had enough of a lead that you could weave in various offensive linemen. You go against that offensive line every day in practice. There were guys playing different positions. The versatility was on display. What do you notice when you practice against your offensive line?
What I notice the most is that they're one of the best offensive lines in the NEC, and I'll go stand by that any day of the week. I think they give us the best competition week in, week out, and going into each game, they know that they're going to dominate up front, and then they look at us, and when we start dominating, they start dominating. It's just a counter effect of each other.
Also, on the offensive side of the ball, when you practice against the running backs, Jamario Clements is a very good runner, goes to Wake Forest. We saw little Sean Solomon last year in some spurts where he showed his wares. Taj Butts was a FBS kid who came to your program last year. I think you knew what you had in them. What did you know about Ness Davis before he started to really take on a bulk of the workload in this regular season?
Yeah, honestly, coming into the season, I didn't know much about Ness. I think he was a surprise to me because he was coming from, I think it was a smaller university or university similar to what Duquesne is. And I feel like he came in and was just ready to go day one. I think he took spring ball and he took fall camp very seriously, and it paid out for him. I think these first few games, he definitely showed up when he needed to show up, and coaches really appreciate that, and the defense has noticed it big time.
When he had the hurdle on the far sideline in front of St. Francis's sideline, did you have a good view of it? And what was more impressive, the fact that he actually jumped the guy or he came down and was still running?
I feel like in the NEC, you don't see many people hurdle people, so I think that was the most impressive part. But being able to keep going afterwards, I feel like it just shows how much he's worked and how hard he works as a kid in both the weight room and on the field to be able to put himself in positions like that.
How much did Capacio's kick return get things going on the sideline to open up the game against St. Francis?
Yeah, I feel like the special teams unit, especially that play in particular, was the thing that kind of set us up for success, because once you can start early, I think when we went to Ohio our first year, 2021, I think it was, we had the similar thing happen against us. Ohio had the same thing going in the kickoff, the opening kickoff, and kind of put us in a position where we were down and out. And I think that's what that does. If you can get up on teams early like that and put teams in particular situations where their special teams unit now needs to worry about stuff like that, I feel like that kind of puts them in a bind where now their offense and defense have to worry more.
You're in a real good spot right now to start conference play. Get Mercyhurst coming up this weekend. You came so close to a playoff berth last year, splitting the title with CCSU. going into your last year? How much do you want to pay that off and win that one extra game to get yourselves back to the playoffs in your last season here?
Yeah, I feel like for the past 5 years, it's always been that goal of getting to the playoffs, getting to where we need to be able to be successful in the playoffs and go further than just a round or two. So I think this season, with the 2 games that we have coming up, of course, the next game being the most important, I think that we just need to take it week by week and win when we can, win what we can up front, and kind of hope on our coaches that they do what they need to do.
And lastly, for Mercyhurst, what do you remember about them last year when you played them here? And what's sort of the early talking points from the coaches that you have to pay attention to when you play them up there this weekend?
Yeah, I know that last year they definitely gave us a ball game. I think we came into the game kind of not looking down on them, but we thought that since they were coming from Division II, I think we played them a little less than what we should have. And I feel like they kind of felt that, and they're coming into this season and this game, like this is going to be their Super Bowl, like every game is for everyone that plays us. So I feel like we need to be on our P's and Q's, and I think that they're going to come out and want to put us in the dirt early. So we just need to be ready for anything and everything.
Well, Kevin, thanks a lot. Appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us, and appreciate you coming by here.
Thank you so much.
All right, Kevin Kurzinger has been our guest here on the Coaches Show here on SportsNet Pittsburgh, brought to you by Summit Academy and the Academy Schools, inspiring hope through education. Plenty more to come when we return. We'll have a look behind the numbers next here on SportsNet Pittsburgh as we roll on here with the Coaches Show, brought to you by Mike's Beer Bar and UPMC Health Plan, the official healthcare provider of Duquesne Athletics.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar, full Budweiser flavor. For all the moments you want a beer and need to stay on your game. Budweiser Zero, 0 compromise.
As Western Pennsylvania's largest regional public accounting firm with local ownership and management, Schneider Downs gives you the global ideas your company needs right here at home. Schneider Downs, big thinking, personal focus.
The reason we do this is to change the lives of patients for the better. Pancreatic cancer has a reputation for being a tough cancer to deal with. If you can add mileage to someone's life, the ability for patients to live longer, enjoy time with their family, witness a wedding of a daughter or a son, that's really what we're aiming for.
It's time to look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. Duquesne wrapped up a 3-game homestand unbeaten at Rooney Field, outscoring opponents 130-39. The stretch included back-to-back NEC wins to open league play as the Dukes continue to dominate in all phases. Offensively, Duquesne topped the 50-point mark for the second time this season and extended its conference lead to 31.7 points per game, best in the NEC, with 31 total touchdowns. Quarterback Tyler Rydell stayed hot, throwing 4 touchdowns in the first half against St. Francis. He now leads the NEC and ranks second nationally in the FCS with 18 touchdown passes, and has tossed 3 or more in 3 straight games. His top target, 60-year wideout Joey Isabella, he continues to shine. His 57-yard score last week gave him 8 touchdown receptions on the season, tied for most in the entire FCS and at least 4 more than any other NEC receiver. Isabella also leads the league in receiving yards at 542, averaging over 13 yards per catch and 77 per game. Defensively, the Dukes posted 9 tackles for loss and 5 sacks, led by Carter Lance, the career best 2 tackles for loss and 1 sack. Duquesne held its opponents under 100 rushing yards for the 3rd time this season and the 2nd straight to open up conference play. And on the sideline, head coach Jerry Schmitt recorded career win number 160, becoming only one of 5 active FCS coaches with 160 or more victories. Schmitt is in his 26th season overall and 21st leading the Dukes. That was a look behind the numbers, courtesy of the accounting and consulting firm Schneider Downs. Find out how big thinking with a personal focus can help your organization. On Saturday, October the 18th, the Duquesne Dukes begin a 3-game road trip at fellow NEC unbeaten Mercyhurst. Kickoff from Erie is set for 6 p.m. The game will be streamed on NEC Front Row with radio coverage on Fox Sports Pittsburgh. For more game day information, visit GoDuquesne.com. This Road Ahead segment is brought to you by Dean Honda. Dean Honda. Visit them on Route 51 in Pleasant Hills or at deanhonda.com.